was thinking today about advice on how to live a better, more meaningful life, and how most of it is changes to your routine. Do this more, eat this less, do this journaling, whatever. Set goals. And most people, I don't know about most people, me and I suspect others, encounter challenges that we don't anticipate when we try to do new, better stuff. And that's often because we don't understand that there's old stuff there already that has its own vibe, it has its own established life. Just like when you're planting a garden, the first step is to get rid of all the weeds. Because you can plant a garden amidst the weeds, but since the weeds are typically, they grow a lot quicker and they're already established, that dandelion is gonna beat out your corn or squash or potatoes or whatever. So when it comes to ideas, there's a concept in philosophy. I know Alvin Plantinga talks about this idea. I'm not sure if he originated it. He might have done. But the notion is defeater beliefs. And defeater beliefs are ideas and beliefs and assumptions, ideas and assumptions that you hold about the world that short circuit other ideas. So for example, if I believe that the world is flat and you come to me and tell me that the world is round, my first initial reaction is likely not, round like a basketball? Yeah, tell me more about that. My first reaction is, whatever, boomer. And why is that? Because I already have a belief. And that belief is a defeater belief to what you're presenting me with. Because according to the law of non-contradiction, which is A cannot equal not A, the world can't be flat and round. But it's an oval. Okay, whatever. So, a lot of people don't change because of their defeater beliefs. Prevent them from adopting a set of ideas and assumptions about the world that is commensurate with behaving in a more effective manner. Translate that into English. People's ideas about what works and what doesn't, or what can work and what can't work, prevents from doing stuff that works. So to change the stuff you're doing, you have to change what you think about the world. That's really hard because most of what you think about the world is unexamined, because you just drank it straight in from your parents and from the culture around you. And unless you've challenged those beliefs and assumptions and really seen that they hold water, that they work, that they have functional utility, you don't really trust them. So I'll give you the most basic example. There either is a God, an all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving being, personal being that created the universe, or there isn't. If you live your life as though there is, it's going to get one set of results. And if you live your life as though there isn't, you're going to get another set of results. Your belief about fundamental reality shapes and informs literally everything else that you say and do and think. And so that's why traditionally theology is the queen of the sciences, because your assumptions about ultimate reality inform everything else. So it used to go theology, philosophy, natural philosophy, which is what they used to call science. Science being, it's Latin, scientia, it means knowledge. So knowledge about the material world. Here's something that people don't talk about. Jung had this idea of there being two fundamental archetypes of the physical world. And that's the great father and the great mother. And he had some ideas that I don't subscribe to, that, you know, God is sort of the anthropomorphized, abstract representation of the rules of society, and how those rules have been biologically instantiated through the evolutionary process. There's more I could say about that. But matter, as in the conservation of matter, or material, comes from mater. The Latin mater means mother. That's kind of where the notion of Mother Nature comes from. And if you only believe in nature, as opposed to God, it's like you're being raised by a single mother. You're missing something. You can make a great go of it just believing in nature, just like sometimes the children of single mothers make real successes of themselves. It's just way harder. Less complete. And that little tangent aside, your beliefs about ultimate reality dictate your actions and your thoughts. And there's a quote, it's attributed to Aristotle. It wasn't actually Aristotle, it was a female classicist in the either the late 18 or early 1900s, writing a summary of the Nicomachean Ethics. But she wrote, we are what we continually do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Now, here's the insight that the existentialists had. And it goes back to the patristic era, the early church fathers. I don't know who. If you know, drop it in the comments. They had a distinction between assentia and fiducia. Assentia means you assent to something. You check off the box. You know, if someone says, hey, do you believe the Apostles' Creed? You're like, yeah, no, yeah, totally. Fiducia, we get the word fiduciary. Fide means trust or faith. So fiducia is faith, and faith in this specific sense, you live your life as though it's true. So if I show you a chair that I bought at a thrift store, and I say, do you think this will hold me up? And you say, I mean, yeah. That's assentia. You assent to the belief that that chair is strong enough to hold you up. And if I say, sit in it and try it out, and you're like, no, not me, then you've assented to the soundness of the chair, but you haven't lived your life as though the chair is sound. So you don't have faith in that chair. And when you're assentia, what you check off on paper as what you believe, and fiducia, what you live as though it's true, what you live in the light of, they are almost never in sync. And when what you say you believe and what you do are not in sync, we call that several things. One of the things we call it is hypocrisy, or being uncharitable. But the fancy name is performative contradiction, or cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is sort of the internal manifestation of that. Performative contradiction is the external. So if I believe that in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was, etc., etc., if I check the box for that, assentia, but I behave in a manner that is not in keeping with his will. So, for example, I have sexual relations outside of marriage, or I steal, then I'm acting like there is not a God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. So I kind of become a temporary atheist. And that's really what sin is. It's an archery term, hamartia. It means missing the mark. But I talked last time about Jesus was congruent. He was together. He was integrated from the bottom up, from the top down. He was completely authentic. And he's a model for us to be completely authentic by being congruent, by integrating ourselves, by having our insides match our outsides. One way to find out what you think about ultimate reality is to observe your own behavior. Observe it like you are observing someone else that fascinates you. And it can be really disconcerting to discover what you actually believe about ultimate reality. But the good news is, if your actions don't match the realities that you sign on to on paper, then you can adjust your actions accordingly. So C.S. Lewis writes, do you ask yourself sincerely if you love God? He said, it's okay if the answer is no. I mean, if the answer is no, it's no. If the answer is no, ask yourself, what would I do if I did? Really give some thought and time to that question. What would I do if I did? And then do that for a while and see if things change. Because he makes the point that it's very difficult to behave towards something or someone in a loving manner without coming to regard it with actual affectionate feelings. And if the fear of the Lord is the beginning if the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, then that's a good place to start. And this is a good place to stop.